In this week's Bizline, social economy in first 7 months achieves positive results. And later on, measures to enhance Vietnam's export values. Hello there, you're tuning into Bizline, our weekly economic journal on VTV International. I'm Hoàng Hằng, and as usual, we now take a look at news making headlines in Vietnam's economic scene this week.
On Wednesday morning, the government held a regular session, during which it connected with the People's Committee of 63 provinces and cities online. Comments were given at the session on the socio-economic situation in July and the first 7 months of the year, which continued to prosper in most fields in the context of many difficulties. During this period, the macroeconomy remained stable, inflation was controlled, growth was promoted, and major balances were secure. Speaking at the meeting, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính noted that despite the achieved result, the economy still faces inflationary pressures. The disbursement of public investment remains limited, raw material prices are still increasing sharply, and the international situation remains complicated. The Prime Minister also stated a number of specific tasks and requested local ministries and agencies to focus on directing and implementing them effectively.
At some residential markets in Hanoi, the prices per kilogram of ready-to-use pork have decreased by 10 to 20% compared to the previous week. The prices of several other items have also gone down. Meanwhile, in Ho Chi Minh City's supermarkets, essential goods such as instant noodles, cooking oil, food, and milk have also gone down by 10 to 30%. The price of fresh products, vegetables and fruits has also decreased by up to 33%. According to a local supermarket, if suppliers and manufacturers of products reduce their prices, supermarkets will also lower their prices immediately. Normally, price adjustments can take several months. Now, it's done in less than 15 days, while some fresh items are even updated daily. Currently, large supermarket chains are continuing to work with suppliers to adjust the prices of items affected by petrol prices, to contribute to stabilizing market prices.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade has issued a decision on the application of measures to prevent the evasion of trade remedies against several cane sugar products imported from Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, and Myanmar. Accordingly, to ensure a fair and competitive environment between domestically produced and imported goods and to protect the legitimate interests of domestic productions and sugarcane growers, sugar which is imported from 5 ASEAN countries and used Thailand sugar materials will be subject to the same anti-dumping and anti-subsidy tax rate applied to Thai sugar, with a total tax rate of 47.64%, of which the anti-dumping tax is 42.99% and the anti-subsidy tax is 4.65%. Sugar imported from these 5 countries, if proven to be produced from local sugarcane, will not be subject to anti-evasion measures.
Total import-export turnover of agricultural, forestry and fishery products in the first 7 months of the year is estimated up 7.2% over the same period last year, according to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Specifically, exports reached more than $32 billion, up more than 12% over the same period last year. Imports are estimated at $26 billion, up 1.6%. The trade surplus of agriculture, forestry and fishery reached nearly $6.3 billion, nearly doubling the 2021 figure. The first 7 months also saw Vietnam export nearly 4.2 million tons of rice, up more than 20% over the same period last year. In the group of Vietnam's rice import markets, the U.S. market posted the highest increase, up 65.3% in the first half of the year.
Statistics show that the demand for labor increased sharply in the first 7 months of this year. In the remaining months, many businesses will continue to have a relatively high labor demand. Ho Chi Minh City, in particular, will need to fill 136,000 to 150,000 jobs from now until the end of the year, mostly in the key industries such as food processing, food, chemicals, rubber, plastic, mechanicals, engineering, and construction electronics. In Bình Dương province, in the third quarter of this year, businesses will need to recruit about 15,000 to 20,000 workers, mainly for the production of textile, wood, leather suit, textile dyeing, welding, and mechanical cutting. Similarly, Dong Nai province has also recorded a shortage of unskilled workers to supply businesses.
Those are some highlights in Vietnam's economic scene. Up next in our crosstalk, we will look into measures to enhance values of Vietnam's exports. Earlier in April, the Prime Minister approved the Commodity Import-Export Strategy to 2030 with the goal of sustainable import and export, promoting competitive advantages, developing trademarks of Vietnamese goods, enhancing the country's position in the global value chain. And at a conference not too long ago hosted by Ministry of Industry and Trade, Mrs. Sibylle Bachmann, Deputy Head of Cooperation at State Secretariat for Economic Affairs of Swiss Embassy in Vietnam, and other experts made a few recommendations to enhance export values. And to better understand the results and implications of this strategy, we now connect with Mrs. Sibylle Bachmann. Well, thank you so much for joining our BizLine program.
Thank you for having me today.
Can you make some comments on the export situation of Vietnam in the first 6 months of the year?
Actually, I can congratulate Vietnam on the first 6 months trade performance. Vietnam enjoyed a substantial trade surplus in the first 6 months. And we are all aware that in 2021, Vietnam was severely affected by an extended COVID crisis and lengthy shutdowns with a steep economic costs. And GDP growth slowed in that time period to 2.6% only. However, I think that the export industry is recovering now and it will be back on track very soon. Also, in the recently adopted import-export strategy of Vietnam, Vietnam has set very clear targets, and the targets are an annual growth of 6 to 7%. And I think Vietnam is working very hard to reach those targets soon again.
The three largest export industries of Vietnam, which can be considered as three key industries, are electronics, textile, and footwear, accounting for 60% of the untapped export potential. How can the export value of these products be increased?
I agree that there is room for improvement in these sectors, which is why we work with Vietnam to increase the export potential of these key industries. Besides the productivity, in particular, the quality needs to be more consistent, and quality standards need to be further improved to boost the export of these products. Furthermore, Vietnam should ensure the compliance with environmental and social and governance safeguards. Often sustainability criteria are actually considered costly, but I think they can give access to new export markets if adhered to. For example, recently I visited a cinnamon plantation inIen Bai province. And after the company has respected sustainability standards, such as organic plantation, it was able to export more and to new markets at a higher price. And finally, I would say that the low labor costs are no longer a competitive advantage of Vietnam, thus the value addition needs to be considered as well. According to the value chain analysis, the highest value of a product is created at the stages of research and development, marketing and branding implementation. However, these sectors in Vietnam still rely on international brands and buyers. Therefore, the value addition remains low for now. And I think that the Vietnamese government should have policies to incentivize research and development activities and also effective marketing strategies for such products to get more value added.
The first 7 months of 2022 saw Vietnam export nearly 4.2 million tons of rice, up more than 20% over the same period last year. In the groups of Vietnam's rice import markets, the U.S. market posted the highest increase, up 65.3% in the first half of the year, followed by the Philippines, Vietnam's largest rice consumption market, accounting for 44.5% of market share, with imports expanding by 48.6% year-on-year. Exporters have reduced rice purchases from farmers, waiting for the peak harvest and buying signals from major import markets of Vietnamese rice. The price of rice in the Mekong Delta provinces has fluctuated multiple times due to stormy weather and localities' different harvesting times. Despite declining sales in many foreign markets, wood and timber export to the UK increased by 14% to $72 million in the first 3 months of 2022. So far, Vietnam's predominant timber export to the UK is furniture. However, industry insiders see another opportunity for Vietnamese exporters in niche areas such as plywood. Although there's considerable price inflation in timber products in the UK, demand for this commodity remains strong, especially for the constructions of warehouses and lightweight industrial buildings. This is a good opportunity for Vietnamese exporters.
Some people think that the agricultural product processing industry and the furniture industry have relatively low export potential. What are the causes and how to improve this?
Partially agree with these statements. In fact, I heard that Vietnam is actually hoping to export more rice because at the moment there is a grain shortage in some areas. So maybe Vietnam can export more rice. We still see a large potential for export growth in these sectors in Vietnam as well. The key challenges are quality and sustainable production of input materials and technologies. If Vietnam can address these two challenges, we believe that the export will be further boosted also in the furniture industry and in the agricultural sector. Possibly also new markets can be reached then. For now, there's only very limited furniture export to Switzerland. And if the quality is increased, possibly the Swiss market would be interested to buy also furniture from Vietnam. Agricultural products, there's also definitely more potential. Swiss people love also fruits, for example, what we call exotic fruits. And Vietnam, if the quality is better, can also export to Europe potentially.
At a conference with the Ministry of Industry and Trade in March, you mentioned that Vietnam has become a champion in exporting and attracting foreign direct investment or FDI, but there are still lack of strategic orientation and ecosystem to support enterprises in export promotion. Can you explain more?
In the recent global political context, as well as with the global pandemic, Vietnam has emerged as a new destination for a new wave of investment, as an alternative to China, I would say. It indicates that Vietnam could become a hub of export production. However, Vietnam needs to be wisely and selective in welcoming sustainable investments in response to new trends of export markets. For example, this could include resource-efficient production or low-carbon value chains. Export markets, especially in Europe, are seeking for this. We are very glad that the Vietnamese Social Economic Development Plan, as well as the new Vietnamese import-export strategy, have now paid attention to the sustainability dimensions. And in line with this, Vietnam has also committed to the net zero emission target by 2050 at the COP26 in Glasgow. And I would say that in the recently adopted export strategy, Vietnam has set very clear targets. And now it does give a strategic orientation to support enterprises in export promotion and to create an ecosystem for export promotion. It now needs to implement this strategy, and then I hope the promotion of export is further boosted.
According to business representatives of the EU, with 27 member countries and a population of more than 500 million people, the EU imports more than $160 billion worth of goods per year from all over the world. Vietnamese agricultural products currently account for only 4% of the EU's imports, so the room for agricultural, forestry and aquatic products from both sides is huge.
Tốc độ tăng trưởng thì phải nói là rất nhanh. Từ trên 4 tỷ đô la đến nay đã đạt trên 6 tỷ, với tốc độ tăng tới 26%. Sắp tới đây chúng ta sẽ thúc đẩy thêm những sản phẩm mới như gạo và một số cái sản phẩm mà chúng ta đã có lợi thế. Sản phẩm nông nghiệp Việt Nam rất đa dạng.
Most exported foods and categories in Vietnam that are exported to the EU are tropical fruits, nuts, and also some other products that are sort of closely related.
In addition to exporting specific agricultural products, European businesses also expect to cooperate in investing, transferring organic farming technology and processing agricultural products with Vietnamese businesses by the end of the year.
What cooperation programs are Switzerland and Vietnam implementing to help Vietnam increase export values?
Last year, Switzerland, with the Vietnamese Ministry of Planning and Investment, MPI, have launched a cooperation program 2021 to 2024 for Vietnam. Vietnam benefits from a technical assistance program worth 70 million Swiss francs, that's roughly 80 million US dollars for this time period. And it aims to support more sustainable economic growth in Vietnam. And this country program is well aligned also with the social economic development plan of Vietnam. And the program is aimed to support Vietnam in achieving market-oriented, sustainable growth by promoting reliable economic framework conditions and an innovation-friendly business environment. Among others, our support will help enhancing the local private sector's competitiveness and facilitate its access to global value chains and international markets, so also export promotion. Regarding export promotion, we have one flagship project which I would like to mention. It's the Swiss Trade Policy and Export Promotion Project, in short, Swiss Trade Project, which we implement together with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, MIT. As part of this project, Vietnam benefits from expertise provided by the International Trade Center, ITC, for the preparation and implementation of the National Import-Export Strategy 2021 to 2030. The project will also help strengthen the public-private dialogue on trade policy issues and support the implementation of innovative trade promotion initiatives. So we really try to showcase innovative examples of trade promotion in Vietnam. In addition to this project, we support several sectoral projects which also facilitate market access, support agricultural and biotrade value chains, and help introduce global quality standards. Strong focus is on the dimension of sustainability, resource efficiency, and climate change.
How does building an ecosystem support small and medium-sized export enterprises?
With this approach, we aim to build an ecosystem of business support organizations. We believe that this approach is right to support export promotion in general, and more specifically to enhance the competitiveness of export-oriented small and medium enterprises, SMEs. By improving the services of such business support organizations, such as market intelligence or the certification schemes, marketing, trade fairs, SMEs benefit as well. This can include also trade missions, and nowadays often also digital trade missions, virtual trade missions. Digital transformation is actually a keyword to mention here. Unfortunately, in Vietnam, such services are often fragmented still. Thus, in the future, Vietnam needs an ecosystem of business support organizations where both public and private sectors can work together to support export development. Other services could include business networking events, logistics services, or the business strategy development of companies. And all these services will lower the transaction cost for SMEs and give them better access to target markets, or it gets them connected to international buyers. And we are also working with Viettrade on the further development and improvement of these services. One example I can give is with the support of the Sustainable Trade Initiative of IDH, where we have built a platform called SourceUp. And this platform tries to offer a platform for buyers to search for suitable local producers of commodities of their interests, because buyers in Switzerland, they don't know a farmer or a small company in Vietnam, but with this platform, they're able to find them.
After a series of Apple's largest assembly suppliers moved the productions of products such as airports and iPads to Vietnam, Xiaomi, one of China's leading electronic device manufacturers, decided to make a similar move, moving part of its factory line to Vietnam. In mid-July, this company officially announced it would start selling made-in-Vietnam phones.
We are seeing a huge potential with the Vietnam manufacturing. And I think the quality is very good, and but most important is the time to deliver the product to our consumers.
Meanwhile, Compal, the world's second largest computer assembler from Taiwan, China, revealed that it's planning to expand its production base in Vietnam to meet increasing orders from international customers. The wave of investments that's shifting from China to Vietnam is a hot topic in many international forums. Most analysts say that it is understandable for Vietnam to rise as one of the world's electronic production bases.
Thanks to multi-year consistent FDI inflow to the technology in Vietnam, Vietnam has transformed and become a global manufacturing hub in the Southeast Asia or in the region. And recently, that you can see the like of Samsung that they invest an R&D center in Vietnam with a total investment of about $200 million, one of the largest R&D in the Southeast Asia.
To enhance the attractions of foreign investment projects using new and high technologies and connecting global productions and supply chains, last June, the Prime Minister approved the Foreign Investment Cooperation Strategies for the 2021-2030 period. As such, 9 group of solutions were highly praised. FDI enterprises believe that the rise of made-in-Vietnam electronic products will be a driving force for the growth of the Southeast Asia.
Could you give some assessment regarding the results of Vietnam's export strategy, specifically in 5 areas: digital transformation, trade facilitation, sustainable development, certification, and quality standards?
As mentioned, the Swiss-financed Swiss Trade Project, with the support of experts of the International Trade Center, ITC, is supporting the MOIT to prepare action plans for the implementation of the import-export strategy. And this includes action plans for the 5 sectors, but also for the 5 themes that we just mentioned. And we believe it's crucial that Vietnam considers these 5 cross-cutting areas because they're highly required by international markets. Firstly, digital transformation. I mentioned this already. It's the goal to use the potential of digital transformation to the benefit of the exporting industry. For us, it's important that we don't just give the platforms or the software, but that these are actually used here in Vietnam or also globally. And we really believe that there's a big potential by digital transformation to export at lower costs and better in the future. Trade facilitation is a large topic. It's aimed to streamline and simplify the technical and legal procedures for products entering or leaving a country to be traded internationally. So, for example, that paperwork is reduced. And this is also what we do with the Swiss Trade Project, with the support of ITC. ITC will also train Vietnamese trade officers to use different tools for monitoring and implementation and measuring of results. And at the same time, a public-private dialogue mechanisms will be put in place to ensure the strategy implementation and that the strategy is also in line with the Vietnamese commitments to international trade laws and policies. And the sustainable development, I mentioned a bit already. We are happy that the import-export strategy for the first time actually takes serious this dimension as well. And we believe that it's crucial to contribute to the overall sustainable and inclusive economic growth in the coming years, so that Vietnam will become a greener economy in the future.
Can you give some forecasts on Vietnam's export in the last 6 months of 2022?
I'm optimistic about Vietnam's export for the second half of 2022. And given the well-managed pandemic situation at the moment and no more restrictions on international travel and international trade fairs, I hope that export is really coming back and that the targets set by the Vietnamese government can be reached. For example, recently we have seen that the BioFac has been organized with Germany, and Vietnamese exporters or organic producers were able to attend there. So travel is getting back, which definitely helps the exporters. I also think Vietnam should take advantage now on the implementation of the recent key free trade agreements. In line with this, we hope that Vietnam and Switzerland will soon conclude the free trade agreement between Vietnam and the European Free Trade Association, EFTA. Because signing a free trade agreement is a mutual interest for both partners, and a large export market will be opened for Vietnamese products. In all of these free trade agreements, sustainability standards are an important part. Therefore, the adherence to these are very crucial for local exporters. And as mentioned before, I hope that Vietnam's export is not only growing and productivity is increased, but that it will also lead the way for an improved sustainability and adherence to environmental and social safeguards, and therefore becoming a greener economy.
Well, once again, thank you so much for joining our program. According to the opinion of many international experts, Vietnam's exports are very potential and have the ability to further enhance the value of export products if the development is promoted based on 5 factors: digital transformation, trade facilitation, sustainable development, certification, and quality standards. And on that note, we wrap up this edition of BizLine. Feel free to download our app VTV Go from App Store and Google Play, or subscribe to our YouTube channel VTV4 Go for more news and updates. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.